Hey, welcome back to United Opposition with Scott and Marshall talking about the end of the Republic. Today, do we have to fear? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Let's talk about it. Hey, this is Scott Marshall with United Opposition. Sorry I missed you guys last week. I was helping my son move him and his wife to actually over by you, Marshall. They're moving over to the coast, over by you. Going to be in the San Luis Obispo area. So I wasn't able to be here last week. Glad to be here this week. And of course, just wanted to lead off with our sponsor, Freedom 2O Water, freedom20.com. I'm going to take my drink of water. They sponsor this show. They have really great, if you want to get hydration, if you want to support Freedom Water, they support us. One of the favorite things I have, Marshall, last time I did this, I had one that said filled with liberal tears. This one's different. It says, drink this water or move to Canada. And of course, this is hyperbolic. I don't literally mean you have to move to Canada, but it is kind of funny. And it is, this kind of is a little bit about what we're going to be talking today. Do I really mean this, or is it just hyperbolic? But hey, let's take a drink and let's thank our sponsor, Freedom 2O at freedom20.com. Refreshing. So I'm hoping. Please don't misunderstand my joviality, Marshall. I am not wanting to make fun of you. I'm hoping that I can talk you off a ledge. I feel like you're a little bit tense about your predictions of this election and what's going to happen after it. I'm concerned, honestly, and I'm hoping that, I can kind of bring some perspective to talk you off a ledge. Maybe you're hoping that you will make me wise. So tell me a little bit. This is kind of sparked from a prediction you made on Facebook. Would you mind expressing that prediction?
Sure. My take on this is informed by my knowledge of Roman history, and I see Donald Trump as a Julius Caesar figure. I'm not the only person who has this opinion. After I wrote my little thing on Facebook, I actually did some of my own research online just to see if other people were drawing the same comparison as myself. And as it turns out, quite a few people actually are. Again, people who know and understand Roman history. The problem with Julius Caesar is that he was a populist who disrespected the institutions of the Roman Republic. Rather than working within the framework of the Roman Republic and the institutions that, basically allowed the Roman society to flourish for like 4 centuries, what he did was he would appeal directly to the people and to their prejudices and so on. Very strong similarities. And eventually he was able to use that to persecute his political opponents and secure the consulship for life. He basically became—
I'm not ignoring you right now. I'm not ignoring you right now. I'm taking notes so I can let you speak, and I will come back and address them, but I don't think that I'm ignoring you as I'm looking at my phone. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And so what ends up happening is people realize that he is a danger to the Republic, that he is essentially destroying the Republic, and eventually he's assassinated. After his assassination, the Republic is then up for grabs. In fact, the Republic is dead. And we get the transition to what we call the Roman Empire. Now, I would say that the Roman people get a little bit lucky. They get his adopted nephew, Augustus, who is actually a fairly effective and powerful ruler, who at least maintains the trappings of the Republic. But after Augustus, and you have this guy named Tiberius, who ends up becoming a depraved, a tyrant, bloodthirsty tyrant. And then, of course, you have other emperors who are very bad. You have Nero, you have Caligula, you have Commodus. There's actually a whole list of them.
Who was Cicero? You're calling yourself Cicero. Who was Cicero?
Right. He was a defender of the Roman Republic. He was an author and a statesman who argued in favor of maintaining a republic and the institutions of the Republic. And that's where I'm at today. I am worried that if we elect Donald Trump, his disdain and his disrespect for the institutions of the Republic are enough that we're going to end up undoing it. Basically, we're throwing it all up for grabs. And then once it's all up for grabs, who knows who's going to win? I don't think he survives his 4 years as president. I think he'll eventually be deposed. He'll surround himself with loyalists, not people who are competent, but people who are loyal. And the problem with doing that is you'll get the breakdown of government institutions because they'll stop operating, just as they did during his last term in office, where we had ambassadorships and other key positions in government that essentially went unfilled until he was replaced by the Biden administration. We're going to see that, but it's actually going to be worse this time around. And then, of course, if the institutions of government don't operate, then he will be ripe for being deposed. Somebody will depose him. The military, subordinates, whoever, he gets assassinated, I don't know, but he will be removed from the picture. And again, it's not Trump himself that I'm so worried about, although I think he is a grave danger to our republic. It's what comes after. And I don't know how that breaks. I don't know if it goes right. I don't know if it goes left or something else. But I have no reason to believe that it will be benign for the republic and all of us.
And that's your prediction?
Yes.
Well, I'm taking notes here to hit some of those points. Again, I might seem laughing, and I'm not laughing at you, Marshall. I'm not trying to make a joke of this or anything like that. I'm just trying to keep it a little more lighthearted, because I feel the weight of what you're bringing, and I think that it's undue, and I think it's dangerous for you. For how it's going to make you react and think and affect your decisions. In the conservative media, they like to joke around calling it the Trump derangement syndrome. I think maybe you've caught a little bit of that in just this completely nihilistic view of what he's going to do, because there is no mystery going on. There really is no mystery going forward.
Right.
In this
He's
election.
told us in his own words what he wants to do.
I'm saying there is no mystery in that he served 4 years as president already, and this didn't happen. Kamala has served 3.5 years as vice president. We know exactly what the country's going to look like if either of them is elected. We've already seen it happen. We know where she's going to lead us. We know where he's going to lead us. There's not going to be a surprise. You're bringing in this whole new thing. Last time he didn't hire loyalists. Last time he appointed people who were experts in those fields who fought him all the way. That's not what he did last time. There is no evidence that
he would be a fool to repeat that now, wouldn't he be? He knows better this time. And again, look it up online. This is what the intelligentsia are telling us.
Because they have to.
This will be different.
This is where I'm coming from, and it's not directed directly at you, Marshall. This is directed at everybody who is an expert in their field. All right. I will start with pastors. I will start with churches and pastors and Christian leaders, that we dedicate ourselves to learning the Bible. We dedicate ourselves to preaching from the Bible, preaching God's word, hearing God, and all these things. And when we see things happening in the Bible, we read about things in the Bible, and suddenly we start seeing things on the news, you'll see pastors saying, it's the end times. It's the end times. I'm old enough to remember 88 Reasons Why God is Coming Back in 1988. I'm old enough to have seen so many times that a pastor has said, this is it. This is the end of the world. This is where it's coming down to. Here's all of my points. Here's everything that's happening over here. Here's why the Soviet Union is the great serpent of Babylon that comes up. I've seen it all. I'm going to be 50 years old. You're already 50. I'm going to be 50 years old in a few weeks. You and I are both old enough to have seen it. But because pastors study this, because they've looked at it, and all of a sudden they see this little thing that they think is evidence, they feel self-important in what they've learned, that they say, this must be what I've been preparing for. This is why I became a pastor. This is why I've studied all this time, so I could be prepared for this moment. And they blow that little thing out of proportion because they need to. They need to justify their belief. They need to justify why they learn these things and why they know these things. I feel the same thing happened with virologists and people in the medical field when COVID hit. This is the one. This is the one that's going to wipe out half of mankind. We need to step in. It's happening under my watch, and I need to make sure that I am the person who takes the right action and makes sure this doesn't spread. We've seen every movie where we see the maps where it spreads and spreads and spreads, and we have to take and now I'm the person who's in charge who has to make that decision. And it's a self-importance of, I've done this lesson, I've studied this field, and now this is the moment that I have studied for. And I feel, Marshall, that you have fallen victim to that as a historian. As a historian, you know history, you know this, and now this little thing has happened, and you're seeing it as, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. Oh my gosh, this is the end of the republic. We have never, ever seen anybody like this. We've never seen anybody usurp the Constitution or threaten to do that. We've never seen anybody who's done these things and has led us this way. And I feel that that's part of the derangement that you've fallen into, the Trump derangement syndrome, that seeing these little things, seeing, whatever hyperbolic sayings that somebody says, do I really mean that I want you to move to Canada unless you vote this way? No, but throwing those things out and seeing that as, this is what it's going to be. I think you're way overseeing what's going to happen. You sound like the Copperheads from the 1860s, because Lincoln was usurping the Constitution and taking steps and overruling the Republic. It's going to be the death of the Republic. I remember 20 years ago when Bush was president, and everybody was all the liberals were saying, all the people on the left, like, he's going to call martial law when he's not going to turn over the presidency or at the end of the election. And I remember conservatives in 2016, like, Obama's not going to, he's going to declare martial law. Everybody says that. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. And I think we are just feeling our own self-importance, that I know this stuff and I'm an expert at this. And this now justifies this now justifies why I'm a pastor, to lead people. This is the end times that are happening right now as we speak. And maybe they are, maybe they're not. Now, that's where I feel you're at. That's where I feel, I feel like we all need to take a breath. And
You're muted. You're muted, Scott. Why is Scott's muted? So I don't know. There we go. Now he's unmuted. I guess the microphone had enough. Well, is it my... Testing. Can you hear me, Scott? This is all good. Private chat. Can you hear me? Testing. Oh, man. Testing. Sound settings. Okay, that's working. Now that should be working. Can you hear me now? Both of those are set. Apparently, StreamYard is picking me up, but I don't. Yeah, I hear when I hit. So I should be working on my end. I don't know what it is.
Want to restart the broadcast? Test my mic. Several microphones are detected to check functionality.
I hear you. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Testing, testing. I hear you.
Hey, check, 1, 2, testing 1, 2, 3. There we are. Hey, we got me to. Okay, we're getting audio. Marshall, can you talk?
Yes, I can.
We're not getting Marshall.
Yes, I'm here. You can't hear me? StreamYard hears me.
He's still talking.
StreamYard hears me. StreamYard hears me. Pepper.
Darn, we were going really good. I thought this show was going really good. Edit mic settings, reduce mic background, echo cancellation, automatically adjust mic volume. Marshall, we're still not getting you. Sorry about that. Sorry about everyone. If you can hear me okay, we really apologize for this. Again, this is our discussion. Marshall, can you hear me? Marshall can hear me. Yes. Yeah. So just double check your mic, Marshall. Technical difficulties aside, this is the heart of United Opposition that Marshall and I have of being able to. Can you switch your microphone maybe to your onboard computer mic or something like that? Your default mics. We'll try that.
I don't have a default mic. I may have.
But this is why we do United Opposition for heavy topics like this, and you know, being able to discuss it like human beings, being able to discuss it without going overboard, and that's what I'm hoping we'll be able to do. But because of our technical difficulties, maybe we may not be able to do this, we might have to come back to this discussion. All right, refresh the browser. We're going to see what's going to happen here.
Testing. Yeah, my microphone is working just fine, so I don't know what's going on. You pick it up on OBS. StreamYard says it's picking it up. Scott's not here no more. And we're still live.
Oh,
there you are. Can you hear me?
There we are. Okay, so all you have to do sometimes is turn it off and turn it back on again. My gosh. Well, I remember seeing that as a t-shirt that you could buy. It says, if I'm ever on life support, if I'm ever on my deathbed, if I'm ever on life support, just turn it off and then turn it back on again. See if that works. Hey, thank you for working out that technical difficulty. Marshall, did I represent you okay in that? I don't know if you heard me or not, but I was telling everybody that the other side of that coin that you might want to mention right now is, I can still hear you, Mike. Marshall, you asked me, what if you're right and I'm wrong? You want to expand on that?
What if I'm right and you're wrong?
Oh, we lost him again.
I'm here.
We had Marshall for a second there.
You can't hear me?
Mike, we had Marshall for a second there when I was off. Mike, when we had Marshall for a second there, maybe take me off real quick and see if we have Marshall. Remove me from the stage. Wait, he's there for a second.
Get out of here.
What? Okay, now you're back. What happened?
I don't know. Am I back now?
You're back now. Did you trip on your cable?
No. I don't know what it is, but what if I'm right? Sooner or later, Cassandra's prediction here is going to come true. It's going to happen, and I think we're really
is that necessary?
Is what necessary?
Are you sure that sooner or later that's going to happen? Does it have to run through that cycle?
Yeah, it will. Yeah, because just like the dynastic cycle in China, it's all, history repeats itself. It just, that's what it does. America's not going to last forever. At some point, the system will collapse. So it's just a question of time. And if we're fortunate, we have a nice long run like the Roman Republic had that goes for 400 years. Maybe it's like England. It goes for pretty darn close to 1,000, although the English did have a civil war, a couple actually. But, we have a civil war and the Republic survived and persisted. And I am optimistic that we can survive it still. But I am deeply worried about it because I don't want to see a civil war. If you think you want a civil war, you don't know anything about war.
You don't.
And we don't need a conflict. I don't like seeing what I'm seeing here. I would like to have meaningful political engagement on both sides and actual discussions about, philosophy and ideas, the kind of things that you and I debate and talk about, Scott. If you and I represented the right and the left of the political spectrum, and we were in charge, let's say as co-counsels, a feature of the Roman Republic, because they had two at a time, I think we could get a lot done because there would be a certain amount of compromise, give and take. There would be issues that we agree upon, things that we disagree upon, and we would compromise on the things that we disagreed upon. I don't know that even happens anymore. The system is rotten, and Trump is going to be the guy who's going to kick it all down. And we might think that's a good thing, but it's not. It will be traumatic and chaotic. And then what replaces it, I can't tell you. And that's what I'm really worried about. I'm not so worried about him kicking it down. I'm worried about what replaces it.
So tell me what things specifically is he going to do that tears it down specifically?
Well, I think for one is he will surround himself with loyalists.
People have done that before all the time. That's not unusual.
Yeah, he's not a politician. He's a business guy, and a questionable, dubious business guy at that, mind you. But the thing is I think he will surround himself with sycophants, people who will toe his line and so on, and they don't have the same loyalty to the Republic that we want other people to have.
Okay, so then what are they going to do? What are the actual actions that are going to happen? What power do they have, and what are they actually going to do?
He will not appoint people from within an existing power structure. He will bring people from the outside and put them in charge.
And what will they do?
They will mishandle the organization because they won't understand how the organization operates. They will break.
How is that any different than any government agency running right now?
Because those government agencies typically promote from within. They take people who have some degree.
The top people are always from whoever the president chooses.
Yes, but they're also from within that organization. They have a history. You don't bring a person in, for example, who has very little law or legal experience and make them attorney general. Something like that. Usually your attorney general is going to come from a prosecutor's office somewhere where they have served as the head of that office with some distinction for some period of time.
Or worked their way up by sleeping with their, people above them.
Oh, I don't
see. It's already happened. No, but I'm saying it already happens.
Because if you're going to
already happens.
If you're going to apply that standard to Harris, let's see you apply it to Trump. Let's talk about his immorality.
No. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about immorality. I'm talking about literally working your way up.
Because I see that as shaming Kamala Harris.
No, but that's corruption. That's actual corruption within the government by what I'm trying to say is it already happens. And you're not saying anything new.
I've already told you that the frame of the house is rotten.
Right, but you're not telling me anything new. You're so afraid of what Trump is going to do, but you're not actually presenting anything new. What is it specifically that you think he is going to do that's going to crumble the Republic? I think you have Trump derangement syndrome, and I don't think you actually have anything.
We never had a president attempt a coup. Okay.
He did not. Did
Yes.
you watch his speech?
Yes, he did.
Did you
Yes, he
watch his
did.
speech?
He
Do you know
owns
how
that.
many times he said we need to peacefully go over there? Do you know how many times
okay.
he said that?
That's what he was saying to save his hide when he realized that the masses were not coming to his rescue. And they are not going to come to his rescue again. He may win the presidency.
This is
but his day
nothing
will
new.
come and nobody is going to rescue him.
So you don't have anything new. You don't have anything that actually, you don't have anything that says this is the way that the republic is going to crumble. He's going to do this. What does he have the power to do? What does he have the power to do to make the republic crumble?
Right.
Tell me that.
What prior president has pledged or even suggested using the National Guard or the military to round up political critics? Who's done that in the past?
I don't know.
Exactly. You know,
Does he have the power to do that?
As the
can he actually make it happen?
Yes, he can issue an order. I don't know if the order would be carried out. It would be an illegal.
But can he make it happen?
I don't know if he
can. It actually happen? What can he actually do?
The problem is if a person can talk like this, you call it hyperbole. But if this guy can talk the way that he talks and get away with it, and if at some point he attempts to do some of these things, it doesn't matter whether he gets away with it or not. It doesn't matter if it happens or not. He's killed the sacred cow, if you will, already. He's moved that Overton window. And so once certain ideas become within the realm of, polite discussion or conversation on a podcast, then it's a very short step to making them reality. And what will happen is he will be deposed. And I can't tell you what happens after that, but it will be bad. And that's what I'm afraid of. If
the vice president becomes president, that's what happens.
That would be
then what? No. You keep saying it goes bad, but you don't have. You keep saying, and then it'll go bad, but you don't have anything.
Yeah,
you can't give me a specific thing that will happen. What will happen? He's pick one. He's deposed by what? How do you think he's going to be deposed?
I don't know. I can't tell you.
What are some options? What are some options? He's going to get killed? He's going to the military. There's going to be a military coup. What's going to? How does that actually work out? Can you describe and say what it is, or do you just live in this oh my gosh, I've seen it in the history and it's going to happen without any specifics?
I am sure that there are people on the 14th of March who thought that everything was going to be just fine under Caesar. And then the 15th of March comes around and, then it all happens, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. At some point, it's going to happen. Well, my point is we shouldn't take the gamble. You want to take the gamble. I don't think we should take the gamble because it's like playing a game of poker. You're saying it's okay to go all in here because you've got a pair of kings. And that's a good, strong hand to go in with. But there's a lot of hands that can beat a pair of kings out there. Are you sure that your opponent doesn't have a pair of aces or better?
And I think that you are overreacting. You are thinking that this is the pot, and this is one pot. I think that yes, it's worth the risk because it's not the end pot. This is not all in. Mm-hmm. They have not gone all in, I think you're taking extra steps that you don't need to. I think you're stressing yourself out in a way that you don't need to. And I think it's because you have this thing of history that you've learned from history, and you know this. And I could be the same way. I could be the same way right now and be going, this is the end times. We have to watch out. I can be a doom and gloom, hellfire and brimstone pastor saying that all these things that are happening right now, these are all things. And I think we both can be overreactionary.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, then here's the deal. You go ahead and roll the dice. You go ahead and win. Just understand that you will own what happens, what follows. You're going to own it.
Mm-hmm. And that'll be fine because it's not going to be that big of a deal.
You're going to own that.
It's not going to be that big of a deal.
Okay. You're going to own that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So to quote Cicero, to be ignorant of what occurred before you were born is to remain always a child. So
you're calling me a child?
to remain ignorant of what happened before.
I'm not ignorant.
Remain always a child. Are
There's
you?
a difference. There's a difference between ignorance. You say again, you're taking that intellectual elitist stance of we both have seen history, but you're dumb because you don't interpret it like I do.
Right.
That's the position you're taking. That's the position you're taking is that everybody else is childish.
How else do you interpret the history of a state that is the closest analog to the modern American Republic in all of history?
You see, you this has happened already. This has happened already. We've already had a populist, very popular president who did questionable things, very questionable things because of his popularity. You did very questionable things with the Constitution during a civil war and was assassinated, and the Republic did not fall apart. We've seen this already.
But what if
and he's considered one of the best presidents ever. I don't think Trump will be considered one of the best presidents ever. And I'm not necessarily trying to say Trump is Lincoln. I'm just saying we've seen this happen and it didn't fall apart. We've seen it worse than we see it now. You're like the climate change people who are like, oh my gosh, the hurricane, this is the hottest it's been. And this is the record since 1938. Okay, so 100 years ago, it was hotter than it is now. You're literally comparing it to when we've already been here. We've already seen this, and I think you're being alarmist.
Well, I think if you're going to ignore the science and things like climate change.
Oh, that's a whole new one that we're going to talk about as well.
And you're going to ignore the history of the closest analog to the American Republic.
No. Ignoring your interpretation of history. Ignoring your interpretation of the data.
Everything turned
There's
out
a difference.
Just fine.
There's a difference. I'm not ignoring history and I'm not ignoring data. I'm ignoring your interpretation of history and your interpretation of data. There's a difference.
How else do you interpret Julius Caesar then? How else do you interpret the collapse of the Roman Republic? How do you interpret that favorably?
It's not the same circumstances. It's not the same circumstances.
Well, I don't know.
And we've seen it. You're measuring against again. Let's look at the data. You're measuring against something from 2,000 years ago, and I'm measuring from something from 150 years ago. Mine might be a little more accurate.
Your career is based on measuring something that goes back 2,000 to 4,000 years ago or further.
Yeah, that's fine. That's not what we're talking about right now. That's not what we're talking about right now. You're giving me data from 2,000 years ago and making your prediction. I'm giving you data from 150 years ago and giving you a prediction.
Correct.
That's data.
And
I
hope you're right. I hope you're right. But Scott, I'm telling you, man, people don't change. As creatures, we have not evolved at all from 2,000, 4,000, even 10,000 years ago. We just have not evolved. And so the bottom line of this is humans react the same way to the same stimuli. And so if you want to understand how societies rise and fall and collapse and do what they do, you can pick up a book by Jared Diamond in which he actually talks about this collapse. But it's a fantastic book. Talks about
I just disagree.
Choose to succeed or fail, in his words.
I just disagree that it's the same stimuli. I disagree that it's the same stimuli.
Yeah, and see, and that's where you and I disagree. But I do think it's largely the same.
But for you to take the position that I'm being childish because of it, I think it's insulting.
Well, Scott, if you don't pay attention to it, if you don't draw a lesson from it,
then I think I am. And I think I am. Again, elitists say my interpretation is the only right interpretation. And you're childish and dumb for and I have not called you childish and dumb. I've tried to avoid that.
Well,
I've tried.
I'm just quoting Cicero.
Okay. To me.
I am
on my position.
I am on your position. And if you don't, I'm sounding the warning. That's all I can do is deliver the warning of history because that's my expertise. That's what I know. And if you choose to ignore it, then now having been warned, you owned what happens next. Mm-hmm. Now you said you're comfortable with that. That's good enough for me.
Okay.
Good luck. And we go on from here. But you are going to own what happens.
just as you are.
All of his support. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You're
I'm
again,
telling you,
we're
it could be
you and I are
awful.
both okay with that, but you seem to really look down on me because of it. And that's what we have to avoid. That's what that's what we have to work
Right.
against.
Okay. I don't want the conflict that follows because I don't know what the result is going to be. I don't know if the right wins or the left wins. But when either of those two sides wins, it will be terrible for all of us. I don't want a leftist coup in this country to round up my friends like you and persecute you because of your personal beliefs. I don't want that to happen. And I don't think you want that to happen to me either.
No.
Do you? No.
It's just
Neither
the
one of
difference
us
is
want that.
I don't think it's going to happen.
And yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, and I want you to not stress out as much about it.
Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that.
I want you to I want you to consider more that maybe you might be wrong and maybe you might be overdoing this. So that's all that I'm trying to say is like I'm not even literally saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying everybody, we all always just need to take a step back. We get so locked into our perspective from our learning and our expertise that I think sometimes from our own self-importance that then it causes us to overreact. We don't need to overreact.
So
because our overreaction can affect how other people are seeing this, can affect how other people are going to act. And I think we have a responsibility to not overreact. We're at 36 minutes. I know we lost about 5 minutes with the sound issue, but last words.
Think about how every poker game ends. There's always a winner and a loser, and the loser assumes that they can call or go all in, and they're not going to lose. They think they're going to win, but then they lose.
Not every time.
Well, not every time.
Sometimes they just don't have a choice.
It's why it's called gambling, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, and sometimes you just have to go through the motions. I mean, like the 49ers, there was no way they were going to make another touchdown or score again, off of the onside kick, but they still had to try an onside kick as much of a failure as it was. Sometimes you just have to go through the motions. You don't actually believe that you're going to be successful, but sometimes you have to go through the motions.
Sure. Well, anyway, my point is at some point, sooner or later, it can and will happen. Why do we have to go all in right now and take that gamble for what, some idea or some policy that we're probably not going to get anyway? Wait for the next election. Play it safe.
I got it last time.
So.
All right, this has been United Opposition with Scott and Marshall. Thank you for joining us. We will be back here next week. That's what we're going to be talking about. Maybe the Electoral College. Maybe a couple other things that's hitting the news. We'll find out. We're two people who are on opposite sides of wherever we're standing can still come together and talk and care about each other and care about the issues. We'll catch you next time. God bless you guys. Thank you for joining us.